Hello everyone, welcome to Bill's History and Wargame World. And today is a Bill's Basement update on how to get your wargame room, basement, whatever you're using, or garage, more organized. And I've been living here 7 years. I moved from Gettysburg and I never really got fully organized, and I'm trying to get my wargaming stuff organized. So, couple housekeeping points at the end of this video. I hope you'll watch all the way to the end for where we'll be in the next several weeks with Goober the Traveling Bear and historic sites and wargame conventions like the Scrum Con. So let's get right to our video. So to start off with, I'm going to go over the tubs, and then I'm going to show you where I'm keeping things stored. So to start off with, we have this kind of a plastic tub, and this is purchased at Staples. They're like $14 a piece. They make different depths of them. They're very sturdy plastic, very sturdy. Nice handles on them. Really good. However, they have a price point, okay? So, if you're on a budget, you can get these for about $5 at Walmart. And I use these a lot for my terrain. Now, you see this lid? The lid doesn't stay down as good as you'd like. So if I'm going to a convention, I throw some packing tape on both ends. So that's that mini tub. Then if you have small figures, these are sold at Walmart, in the hardware section. And I use these sometimes for small figures. I don't really have much 15 millimeter or 28 anymore, other than my Wild West figures. But that's what I used to use those for. Now, going to the big tubs, these are what I'm using for my figures now. And I'm primarily a 54 millimeter miniature wargamer in the last decade or two of my lifespan on our Earth. So this one here is Russians, Russian figures, your Japanese for Box Rebellion, and the French Foreign Legion. So they all fit in one tub. And we put the lid on. Ta-da! Now, we're going to go over labeling next. Now you can label on your computer. You could do it any way you want, but I'm just using these very inexpensive ID tags that you use for a birthday party or a work party. I have the ones that do not say hello, they're blank. So, and I just write on a magic marker what the item is. So, for those of you who don't know, that's Goober the Traveling Bear. He is over 40 years old. My first wife purchased him in 1988 through 89, I guess. She's no longer with us, but Goober is, he travels around to historic sites and helps promote history. But we'll get to that later. Alright, so in my wargaming room, the way our basement is set up, we have the wargame room with the table, which some of you have seen in my videos, and I still have not picked up all the French Foreign Legionnaire game. And then what I've done is I put a rack up on the wall by the table that has all my terrain. So when I set up a table, all my wargaming terrain is, right there. I'm going to just pause the camera. We'll move up to that terrain table or rack. All right. And, I'm inviting over 1,000 people in my basement. I hope everyone understands that I'm inviting strangers to see what my wargame room looks like. So I have my sandbags, carts and animals, my lichen, grass, moss, my 54mm trees, Yorktown entrenchments, and you get the idea. Roads, rivers, and trees. Trees and roads, they're really the most important thing you have. For wargaming, you use those a lot. And then my large buildings, right now I'm keeping my large Arabic type buildings down below. Alright, we'll pause the camera here. Now down here on the messy carpet, I'm keeping my World War II German armor, all my 54mm fences, and my 54mm fields. And these are really large tubs. I got them because they'll hold a lot of 54mm fences. So, let's go on to how we store the figures. Pause the camera here. Okay. We are on the other side of my basement. We're in the section where I have my workbench and the slot car track that you might see once in a while in a video that my brother and I used to race 50, 60 years ago that I rebuilt down here. So I have labeled my figures in these tubs. So my Pacific Amtraks are in this tub. I have Amtraks, my Egyptian Army, my World War II landing craft. Now here I have a tub of dead horses for Custer's Last Stand that I got to label. But all my 54mm stuff is getting labeled so I can find it. The next thing I want to do is see if I have the camera set up. So here's my Korean War vehicles. I have Chinese trucks and things I've gotten sent over from China, Korea. And then my Korean War figures. I want to get all the different tubs for the time periods all stacked together. So, as we go along, I'm going to pause the camera. So you'll see I have my Zulu, Spanish American War. I have a ton of 7th Cavalry at 54mm. I have roughly 460 mounted 54mm cavalry figures. All spray painted and then painted detailed by the great Jim Shaw. And then I have a couple hundred 7th Cavalry dismounted figures. That was to be able to run Custer's Last Stand, the Battle of Little Bighorn, at about a 3-to-1 ratio. Alright, I'm going to pause the camera here. And down the bottom I have my knights. Cannons. Now, I labeled cannons simply cannons. And the reason I did that is I have Gatling guns in there, I have mortars, I have Boer War cannons, I have Civil War cannons and limbers in there. So whenever I'm setting up a game, I now can find what I'm looking for quickly. Now, as we move over to the next side, we have, this was a shell of an Iwo Jima, 54mm, or a Navarone. And what I did is, I spray painted it flat black, I put lichen all over it, and that is going to be an Iwo Jima someday. I've never used it. And then I have a mint in the box Navarone that I got from the great Napoleon, actually. He's the the historian for Williamsburg, Mr. Mark, and I bought that from him at the Williamsburg Muster. Great deal. So both of those will be used at some point. I'm hoping to use the Iwo Jima mountain. And then as we go along, I have a huge Civil War 54mm collection. I need to do a shout out to Chris Palmer of the Hawks. He gave me that huge white box here of 54mm figures. So Chris Palmer, I thank you again. They were painted very well. All I had to do is touch them up here and there. So this is my Civil War army. And then at the bottom, I have my World War I aircraft. And then we have my Korean War and my Civil War and Spanish American warships. And they're all on the bottom. So, that's where we're at for getting organized. The biggest thing I have found, and I'll pause the camera here. Alright, the big thing to get organized is to label the tubs, and the next thing I want to do is get the tubs stacked together for the time periods. Now, as far as large 54 millimeter buildings, they take up some space. I'm using a lot of BMC houses that collapse, but I also have some big large stuff. So I'll show you where that is next. So above my work desk is where I'm keeping a lot of the 54 millimeter buildings. And they're in some boxes, and that's where I'm keeping that. Alright, let's pause the camera here. Now, every wargamer has wargaming books, and this is where I keep all my rule books and rules for the most part, my Donald Featherstone books. And then I'm very proud of the French Indian War 54 millimeter Army and some more of my Civil War stuff. So I have it sitting over here on this bookshelf, and because probably my next game on the table will be a French Indian War game. So these were all painted by Jim Shaw again. Alright, well, we're doing a conclusion here. I hope you enjoyed trying to get organized. Label your plastic tubs. The stickers are cheap. But let me tell you, when you're looking for barrels and fences and walls and you're going through all kinds of different stuff, it's just neat to be organized. So, plans for the next several weeks for me is this coming weekend I will be playing Pony Wars at Walt's house, and I'll make a video of that. The Pony War videos on my YouTube channel are in the thousands, which is incredible. I think I have one that's like 1,200, another one at 1,900. Walt runs great games. April 1st, I am hoping we're going to be in Fredericksburg, Virginia with friends and Goober the Traveling Bear. We're going to hit historic sites, also meet up with Chris of VA Travels. Chris has a YouTube channel called VA Travels. He hits both Civil War, Revolutionary War sites, historic homes. My wife loves his videos. It's not just military history. So if you have somebody in your family that likes to see mansions, he does tours of that caliber, and he has a lot more subscribers than I have. But we're hoping to meet up with him and maybe do some kind of video together for both of our channels. April 8th, we will be at Scrum Con, the miniature war game and role-playing convention in Washington, D.C. and Silver Spring, Maryland. Please Google that and get the exact address. That is April 8th. The 16th-ish, 15th, 16th of April, I believe we may be with my friend Uncle Buck the Historian, or we may be going back to Fredericksburg, Virginia. April 23rd, we will be at the Veterans Maryland Museum. I've made 2 videos of that museum. It's a wonderful museum. It's outside of laplata, Maryland on Route 301. They are having an outdoor festival, and we will be at that festival on April 23rd. And then April 29th, I think we have another miniature war game event. But at this point, I don't want to put it on YouTube because I don't know if it's open to the public yet or not. All right, I covered a lot in probably 15 minutes. The biggest thing to do, buy some simple labels and write on there trees, roads, fences. So when you're going through all your stuff, unless you're super organized, I bet Frank Prez and Derek Barton are both very organized. They're great wargamers. You can find your wargaming stuff. And one of the reasons I'm making this video for the French Foreign Legionnaire game, I literally spent a week looking for the flag to the fort. And believe it or not, this flag was in the box with the Japanese infantry for a World War II game. So it got me motivated to label things, organize stuff, so I can find it. So that's it for my video. Stay safe, be kind, be courteous. This weekend I'll be loading up a Pony Wars video. Thank you for watching, and get organized.